My brothers and sisters, you are now watching the Gamer 2323, so just forget about the chores you're supposed to do. Put your feet up, get your Kool-Aid, fried chicken, popcorn, get whatever you may need. And I hope you enjoy the video.
Apes! Together! Strong. My most anticipated movie of this year, okay? Out of all the movies that have come out so far and that are still to come out, this movie right here was at the top of my list, okay? Over the Amazing Spider-Man, over X-Men Days of Future Past, over Godzilla, you name it, this movie was at the very top of my list. I had extremely high expectations for this movie, okay? So I seen this movie the day, well, not the day after it came out, and yeah, so it's time to review that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, okay? So, let's begin. Alright, so first off, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the sequel to the 2011 Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I'm not talking about Mark Wahlberg's Planet of the Apes. No, this one, out of all the Planet of the Apes movies that have come out so far, I like this series the most, you know, because it has a much more serious / darker tone to it. So, it takes place after Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So if you did not see Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I highly recommend you see that movie if you want to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Pretty much, long story short though, in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, there were these group of scientists that were trying to find the cure for Alzheimer's disease. They come up with this medicine called, I think it's called the A1Z12 or A1Z113, something like that. And you know, at one point they think that they have found the cure for Alzheimer's. Little did they know is that there was a side effect, and it pretty much kills humans. So in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, humans are on the verge of extinction. The human population is not doing too good. And on the other side, you have Caesar once again. That Caesar was a boss in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Caesar becomes an absolute boss in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Caesar has assembled literally an army of apes, okay? And what makes it even worse is that these apes are smart as heck, okay? These apes can talk, they can ride horses, okay? They can, like, shoot guns. It is crazy in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And it really picks up at a great start in this movie to me. So Caesar, who came up being raised by humans, you get to see how Caesar is in this movie. You know, it's been like 4 years since the events that occurred in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So in this movie, you get to see how Caesar is now living amongst his own kind. You know, they really haven't had any human interaction, you know, for the past 4 years now. And you get to see Caesar at like the top of his game. If you thought that Caesar was raw in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Sucker, you have no idea. In Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I swear, I was like, Caesar, can I just be you for one day? Because Caesar was so cool in this movie, it made no sense. So, you know, you get to see how Caesar and, you know, and how his group of apes have adapted to, you know, living out in the wild. And pretty much the ape life could not get much better. You know, Caesar is at the top of his game. You know, all of the apes, you know, look to Caesar as their mentor. You know, they all have, you know, this tight bond and tight relationship together. You know, they hunt together, you know, they almost like teach like school there, because, you know, you get to see like the apes are trying to, you know, read and talk and stuff like that. So pretty much the ape life is like at the peak right now. The apes are living like kings right now. But then on the other side, you got the human species, and the struggle is real, right? The struggle is real right now for the humans. You know, of course, there's been a lot of deaths on the human side. You know, they've been losing a lot of lives. So the remaining humans are trying to find out a way to restore human population. And of course, with that, there becomes conflict. You know, the apes don't trust the humans don't trust the apes, and the apes, they just want to, you know, live how they've been living, and the humans, they're trying to get back to what life was for them before, you know. So you know, there will be times where, you know, a situation starts to you know, kind of get out of control, Caesar, he'll just come out of nowhere, like jump on like a tree stump or whatever, and you know, he'll just raise one hand and everyone would just shut up. And I'm not just talking about the apes. You look over at the humans and they're just like, they know that Caesar is that dude. Well, that ape, you know, so you just sense this immense amount of power and respect that Caesar has. Caesar, I cannot stress enough, Caesar is an absolute boss in this. God damn, that ape was so cool. I think the actor that plays Caesar, what's his name? Andy Serkis, I think. Dude, you should be nominated for an Oscar. This dude knows how to play an ape. Caesar in this movie, I cannot stress enough how cool he is in this movie. But I really love this. Hands down, out of all of the Planet of the Apes movies that have ever come out, I enjoyed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes more than any other movie out there, okay? I really loved this movie. I love the story behind it. You know, I love, you know, the pace of the movie. You know, you cared about some people on the human side. You care about the apes. You know, there's this conflict to where, you know, you're kind of rooting for both sides and stuff like that. But of course, both sides also have bad people or bad apes for that matter. So I just really love, you know, how this movie played out. There's definitely some surprises and stuff like that. I was highly entertained by this movie. Now, some people, you know, they're not really into movies like this because, you know, I didn't want to bring, you know, some of my friends that, you know, wanted, you know, that I wanted to you know, see this movie with. But there was like, dude, I don't care about apes talking. So, you know, this movie might not be for everyone out there, but if you did see, you know, the previous Planet of the Apes movies, or if you saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I highly recommend you see this movie. I can't say for a fact that this is my best movie I've seen so far this year. It's kind of like a tie between X-Men Days of Future Past and this movie, but hands down, all the hype that built up to this movie, you know, from the previews to trailers and stuff like that, I thought this movie really lived up to it and also exceeded those expectations. The only thing I will say that I did not like about this movie is there was one line that they had in the trailers that was not in this movie. And I'm like, why would you take that? Well, the line was in the movie, but it didn't come from who you wanted that line to come from. And just because of that, I'm like, man, that was like one of the best lines. I thought that was going to be in the movie, and it really wasn't. It didn't come from who you wanted the line to come from. But aside from that, I just didn't like a line that wasn't in the movie. You know, aside from that, this movie was hands down great. This was one of my top movies so far this year. And if you have not seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, sucker, then you just ain't doing it right. Okay, so that's my review for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys in my next movie review whenever that is.